In early 2026, decades of covert hostility between Iran and Israel gave way to open, direct confrontation. For the first time, Iran deployed its full strategic arsenal not through proxies, but directly against Israeli territory. What follows is every major weapon system Iran brought to bear in that conflict. The Shahed-3 was Iran's oldest long-range strike missile still in service. Liquid-fueled and slow to prepare, it required significant pre-launch time. In 2026, it was fired in the opening salvos, not for precision, but to consume Israeli interceptors before more advanced weapons followed in subsequent waves. The Ghadir-1 improved on the Shahed by incorporating a separating re-entry vehicle, causing the warhead to detach mid-flight and complicate interception. With a range approaching 2,000 kilometers, it was launched in coordinated waves timed after drone saturation attacks had already stressed Israeli radar networks. The Emad was Iran's first precision-guided ballistic missile. Its maneuvering re-entry vehicle adjusted trajectory during terminal descent, threatening specific military targets rather than general areas. In 2026, Emad missiles struck at Israeli airfields, radar sites, and command facilities, with several confirmed to have reached their designated impact points. The Khorramshahr-4, also known as the K-bar, flew a depressed trajectory, lower and faster than standard ballistic arcs. This compressed the intercept window for Israeli defense batteries. During the second and third weeks of the conflict, documented strikes on military logistics facilities were attributed to this system. The Fateh-1 was Iran's most advanced weapon of the campaign, a hypersonic boost glide missile maneuvering at velocities exceeding Mach 5. Its unpredictable terminal path defeated standard intercept calculations. Used in limited numbers, it confirmed Iran had entered a threat category that existing Israeli air defense had not been fully designed to counter. The Soumar was Iran's first long-range land attack cruise missile. Subsonic and terrain following, it stayed beneath many radar thresholds at ranges exceeding 2,000 kilometers. In 2026, it was used primarily in saturation attacks alongside drones, designed to exhaust Israeli interceptor inventories rather than guarantee individual penetration on its own. The Hoveizeh refined the Soumar with improved navigation and extended range. Launched from mobile platforms dispersed across multiple Iranian provinces, it resisted preemptive targeting. At least one Hoveizeh struck an Israeli air defense battery in the northern region before secondary defenses neutralized further impacts from the same salvo. The Paveh was the most capable cruise missile Iran committed to the conflict. Shaped to reduce radar cross-section, it flew extended profiles at range and was deployed in coordinated salvos with ballistic missiles. Its role was to force Israeli systems into simultaneous triage decisions, choosing which threats to engage under maximum time pressure. The Shahed-136 was a delta-wing, propeller-driven one-way attack drone. Slow and audible, it was individually easy to intercept. Iran's answer was volume, launching dozens simultaneously in coordinated swarms. The goal was to overwhelm point defense systems through sheer numbers, not through the sophistication of any individual platform. The Shahed-131 was a smaller variant, used against lighter targets and in mixed formations alongside the 136. Together, they created layered tracking challenges, forcing Israeli operators to simultaneously process multiple targets at different sizes, speeds, and approach vectors across the same engagement window. The Shahed-149 Gaza was a larger, longer endurance platform used for both reconnaissance and strike missions. It fed real-time targeting data to Iranian planners during active attacks, allowing subsequent missile salvos to be adjusted based on damage assessments from the waves that had come before. The Arash-2 was a jet-powered kamikaze drone, faster than all propeller variants and harder to intercept at short range. It was deployed selectively against hardened objectives where slower drones had been identified and neutralized before reaching their targets in earlier phases of the campaign. The Mohajer-6 served as a reconnaissance and targeting platform, not a strike asset. Operated over border regions and coastal zones, it collected intelligence and relayed positioning data to Iranian strike planners throughout the conflict, functioning as the persistent surveillance layer of the integrated attack architecture. The Zelzal was an unguided heavy rocket with ranges between 150 and 400 kilometers. Without terminal guidance, it functioned as a weapon of area effect. In 2026, Zelzal rockets were fired from forward positions to generate simultaneous threat alerts across a wide geographic front alongside more precise systems. The Fateh-110 was a solid-fueled, precision-guided short-range ballistic missile, far more responsive than older liquid-fueled weapons. Later variants, including the Fateh-313 and Zulfiqar, extended range and accuracy. In 2026, they struck military installations, communications nodes, and logistics infrastructure in coordinated strike sequences. Fast attack craft and missile boats were deployed across the Persian Gulf and Sea of Oman. The Noor anti-ship cruise missile, Iran's derivative of the Chinese C-802, was positioned to threaten coalition naval vessels. Capable of mission kill with a single hit, it imposed real caution on maritime movements throughout the conflict. Fateh and Ghadir-class submarines conducted active patrols during the campaign. The Ghadir, a shallow water platform, was assessed as capable of deploying torpedoes and naval mines. Their presence alone restricted freedom of movement for any force considering maritime intervention in support of Israeli defensive position. Iranian naval drones, both surface-running and subsurface variants, were deployed for surveillance and threat projection. In at least one documented instance, a naval drone was used in an attack posture against a vessel in the northern Red Sea corridor, extending the maritime dimension of the conflict well beyond the Persian Gulf. Iran did not limit its 2026 campaign to weapons that exploded. Its electronic warfare and cyber capabilities were activated in parallel with every major kinetic strike, designed to degrade Israeli systems at the precise moments when those systems were under maximum pressure from incoming threats. Ground-based and drone-mounted jamming platforms targeted GPS signals across Israeli airspace. These jamming windows were timed to coincide with the arrival of major ballistic salvos, reducing the terminal accuracy of Israeli interceptors exactly when incoming fire was most dense and the decision window was most compressed. Cyber operations ran concurrently with every major physical strike wave. Israeli power networks, communications infrastructure, and logistics systems were subjected to sustained intrusion. Catastrophic failures were largely prevented, but the operations successfully diverted defensive resources and created operational uncertainty at critical moments in the campaign. Before major strike waves arrived, Iran worked systematically to blind the systems designed to stop them. This suppression doctrine was executed in deliberate sequence, each phase designed to degrade Israeli defenses before the primary offensive payload arrived. Anti-radiation missiles homed on the emissions of active Israeli radar systems in the opening phase of major attacks. By targeting the sensors feeding defense networks, Iran sought to open temporary blind spots through which ballistic re-entry vehicles and cruise missiles could transit with reduced intercept probability. Decoy drones, built to mimic the radar signatures of cruise missiles and warheads, were deployed ahead of live strike packages. They forced Israeli systems to expend interceptors on false targets. The resulting depletion contributed directly to the successful penetration of genuine warheads in the waves that followed. In 2026, Iran didn't just fire weapons, it dismantled a defense system layer by layer. History will remember it as the year the Shadow War finally became real.